Welcome to this special International Women's Day podcast brought to you by Hartmann Young. Today we are celebrating the incredible women leading change in the nutraceutical industry, and I'm thrilled to be joined by two extraordinary guests, Dr. Sybille Buchwald-Werner, an entrepreneur, strategic leader in healthcare and co-chair of the Mentorship Committee, and Heather Granato, entrepreneur and president of the Women in Nutraceuticals organisation. We're going to discuss the leadership journeys, how women are transforming the industry, and most importantly, how we can accelerate action to create more opportunity for women in leadership roles. Thank you, both of you, for being here today.
Absolutely a pleasure. Always so good to see you. You
Thank
both.
you.
Yes,
Yeah.
Lovely to see you too, Sybille.
Lovely to see you both.
Thank
So
you.
to kick things off, let's talk a little bit about your personal journeys within the nutraceutical industry. Sybille, you've built an impressive career in the healthcare innovation. Can you share with us what your experience has been like and how you've sort of seen the role of women in this field evolve over time?
Perfect. Yes. It's my pleasure to be here and also to share what I have experienced on my career journey and how I have seen it from the inside out. So, I started as a young scientist, eager to become a corporate girl, and already at this time, never ignoring my entrepreneurial spirit. And my early years working for an international corporation laid the foundation for my professional mindset, because they teach me the importance of having a global network. Particularly when you work internationally, you need your network to achieve goals as a team, but also to learn how you can still shine based on your personal performance. And I think that's a key point to be happy in a working environment. At this time, it was more a male-dominated industry with only a few women in leadership roles. But however, I didn't really recognize limitations because I had mentors and supporters of both gender. And I was educated with the belief that if you truly want something, you can achieve it. And I really believed in this during this early years in my career. So I didn't know the feeling of being treated unfairly or held back by supervisors. But I did not see it as a problem of being a woman or a bias situation. But this experience let me make a crucial decision that I said, I always want to surround me with people who uplift and inspire me and who encourage me to focus and dedicate towards my personal goals. And I think that was my way how to deal with the situation at this time. Later on, I was founding and scaling a health innovation company where I achieved a successful exit. And there, if it's your company, you can apply your rules. And from the start, this company was gender equality. Diversity was a key point for us. I am a strong believer that only companies that embrace diversity across gender and education, age, nationality, can have truly solutions for our nutraceutical industry. And during the time having my own company, I recognized a remarkable shift. More and more women are we're stepping into leadership, first more research, product development, but later also sales and business administration. And when I sold my company, it was essential to me to get a partner that acquires us who has a strong commitment to empowering women. And today I'm in the last phase of the integration, and I can proudly say that I'm part of a leadership team which is 50% female represented. So I always try to get my way in line with my personal philosophy, but I also know that I'm not satisfied with the overall representation of women in the workforce. And studies clearly show we are much too slow to implement. It will take decades to reach gender equality. So even if we have done, we have accelerated and we are there, women are visible, it's for sure not enough where we stand.
No. Absolutely. And to be honest, what resonated with me most was about, if you can dream something, you can achieve it. I think that's something that everybody can sort of take on board with them every day, that if you can dream it, you can achieve it. So thank you for that. Heather, you've been involved in the nutraceutical industry for many decades, championing, telling storytelling and the power of connections, which we've discussed previously was part of what led you to co-found the Women in Nutraceuticals. From your perspective, what changes have you observed in terms of leadership opportunities and visibility for women in the nutraceutical sector?
It's interesting to think about. I certainly have been very fortunate through my career to have had fantastic mentors and sponsors, both women and men. And I think, if you look at it and the ability to lead in a way that is very inclusive, that's curious, that gives people opportunities, whatever their backgrounds, then you're actually building a team that's much stronger. I do think there's always been a little bit of interest in being a little more personal. And that was a challenge back, in the 90s. Like, I got to look a certain way. I have to act a certain way. I can't show my vulnerability. But I do think there's an interest in a leadership style that's much more collaborative, inclusive, and approachable. And those diverse teams support those leaders. So as we see more women in the nutraceutical industry, we're focusing on new voices, different perspectives. And certainly the research has shown that it drives innovation. The more perspectives you have around the table, the more backgrounds. To Sybille's point, absolutely, age and background and geographic location, all of this is coming together in our global nutraceutical industry. And I think there is also this interest in addressing the women's health gap that is driving women into leadership. We've got this concern around conditions that preferentially affect women or that affect them in a different way than men. And that's really important for us to commit to doing more research, to understanding how can we offer those natural solutions. And certainly, the visibility for women and networking, it's all about building our networks. It's about, connecting with people who uplift us and helping others along the way. There's room for everyone.
No, absolutely. And you're right. There is such a positive change happening. There is still a lot to do, but it's good to see that the wheels are in motion and there is some change happening. Now, we know that mentorship and networking are key to career growth. And Sybille, as co-chair of the Mentorship Committee for the Women in Nutraceuticals, how do you think the committee has helped drive change for women in the industry? What impact have you seen?
Let me start with a statement. Mentorship is one of the most powerful team tools for professional growth. It's absolutely important. And so for sure, also Women Nutraceutical has a mentorship program. And it was designed to provide women in the nutraceutical industry with a platform to connect, to learn, and to grow. So our mentorship program is different because it's international. It is cross-functional, industry-specific, dedicated for the nutraceutical industry. And that's something you can not find nowhere else, because normally mentorship programs are more function-specific, company-specific, but we are industry-specific to our market. And what we are doing is we are matching experienced leaders with emerging talents to provide guidance, support, and opportunity. And I think what's very important is we want to launch new female leaders, but we are doing it is with mentors who can be men or women, because we want to have both ways and both ideas being represented. And what we do is a one-to-one matching, which is then supported by group meetings and by webinars, as well as by a program-specific communication platform to accelerate networking. And a key point of our program is the matching, because our matching is done personally by human beings. It's not done by an AI or by an algorithm. So we really have applications. We read the applications. We look at the video applications which are coming in, and we spend hours and hours to understand the personalities and who to match best with. And I think I'm really proud that with the 2 runs that we are having now, that everybody's very happy with the match, and that they say, wow, how could you find out that this person is fitting so well to me? So I think that's the advantage. And that's also coming back to your questions, what you have seen, what the mentorship can do. And I think the key point is some people cannot imagine what the right mentor can make a huge difference. A difference on navigating career transitions, developing goals, leadership skills, and getting the confidence to step into the next senior role. I've personally seen mentees who went from hesitating to confidently applying for a leadership position. And that's so rewarding. It's so rewarding to be part of this. And I think depending, or not only the one-to-one, what is also the real value that the mentorship brings and that WIN brings is the growing network that we have of people supporting each other. And it's an industry-specific supporting. People understand where people are. They have experience. They can share experience and insights. And I think that's the way where we work together to empower women, but also to shape our nutraceutical industry.
No, thank you for sharing that. And it's been such a powerful initiative. And I've personally loved being on the committee and seeing firsthand the growth and actually sitting through the feedback from the mentees and the mentors from the last pilot that we did actually was, really rewarding. You're absolutely right. So thank you for that. Heather, from your experience within the Women in Nutraceuticals, how has mentorship played a role in empowering women to reach leadership positions, and how can women who are entering the field benefit from this kind of network?
It's a really great question to think about and it is on our roadmap in terms of where we're going with our objectives. This has been a powerful mentorship program focused on that C-level, which really goes back to our founding, getting more women in senior leadership. But I'm also pretty passionate about helping mentorship, whether it's small group or helping people find, more informal mentors, to help address that broken rung going into management. The women who are at the first stage of their career, they're looking to get, a promotion into management. How do we support them? How do we help build their confidence? What tools can we give them? And it's not just in leadership, it's in science, certainly, helping ensure that women are having the senior name on publications that they're making. And for all of these women, certainly from my experience, you have to have a willingness to ask for help and build those connections. But I encourage folks to do that with intention. So just saying, will you be my mentor, is not as powerful as I'm looking for an introduction. I'm looking for this kind of growth in my career. I have a specific ask. And here's how I'd like to work with you. Here's how I can support you. It's really a back and forth. And I think that's when it's more powerful, is when you actually have that relationship building, what your target is. And certainly Sybille and the Mentorship Committee have been very good in setting out, what are we going to do? How are you going to progress over time? I think we're looking for mentors and sponsors who will advocate for our members and help, cause this change across the industry.
I think it's very clear to see that mentorship is pivotal for the growth of the industry. Now, this year's International Women's Day theme is Accelerate Action. In the context of the nutraceutical industry, what does this theme mean to you? And how do you see women in leadership roles driving meaningful actions to create a more gender equal future? Sybille, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I think Accelerate Action is a powerful and necessary call. I mean, looking at the World Economic Forum, the rate of progress, it will take 133 years more to achieve gender parity if we are not accelerating and have new actions. And it's not only the gender equality perspective, it's also the economical perspective. I mean, how can we overlook 50% of the leadership potential that we have, particularly looking at demographic shifts and increasing shortage of leader. So we need female leadership, and we cannot ignore this talent pool. And when we think about what can we do to get more leader, I think for me it's always two things. The first thing is investing. Companies need to invest into developing female talents, specific training programs, leadership initiatives, mentorship programs. If they cannot do it internally, they have to look out, like, for example, our Women in Nutraceuticals leadership team, to get the women being aware that they can have a stake and also that they feel confident that they can do it. And then the other side is we should not discuss anymore flexible work policies or equal pay. It should be a standard, not an exception. And I think that's important, that this is also coming from society, and that also leaders that we have today are looking for this. I also think we will see a natural shift, because with the demographic shifts, we have the younger generations will not accept it, because the younger generations want equal payment, and they also know that only diverse teams can be successful. So I think at one point, people did not apply for jobs in companies that are not having statements and a way how they address the topic and how they make sure that, for example, like the European society has set the ESG rules, that they follow them. So I think we will get more women in, but we need to accelerate. And if we have more women in, we have another tone in leadership, because it's a different way. Particularly mixed leadership teams work always better. Only women will not work as good, only men will not work as good as a diverse team. And I think that's the key point.
I completely agree. And actually, one of our values here at Hartmann Young is about being invested in our collective future. And you're right, we have to all be driving for, an equal future and working together to accelerate action. So, Heather, do you want to add some comments into there?
So it's interesting to think about accelerating action. It means looking at setting goals, but also talking about the steps to get there, to being accountable and setting KPIs. So, within WIN, we have our strategic objectives. We've got these initiatives, and now coming into a work plan, really a very collaborative workforce within, working with the leadership of WIN, the board, the committee chairs, and our liaisons to really champion what we think. I couldn't agree more that we need to think about how we're going to grow the pie. This is not an either or. If someone gets a promotion, someone loses. That's not the case. We have the opportunity to grow our industry, grow our businesses, think bigger, and invest in people. And how do we actually fulfill consumers' desire for natural health solutions? That's the opportunity. And it's not, it's not tiny. It's giant globally. And, we have that opportunity to address it. I would also say, as female leaders, it's important to be transparent and advocate for others, to think about who on our team may need to develop more skills, to create a safe space for experimentation. I think a lot of younger women are afraid of failure. It's terrifying sometimes because you think you can't screw up, or I'm not going to get that promotion, or I'm not going to be able to progress. We need to make it okay for everyone to experiment, to try new things. I do believe women are really more transformational leaders. We focus on a vision, and we're being proactive to help our teams accomplish. It's less about our self-interest and more about the great outcome that we're setting.
No, absolutely. And you've both raised some really interesting points there. Still a little bit about what can be done. And to be honest, this is going to lead into my next question. So, Sybille, what changes do you think are still needed to be made within the nutraceutical industry to ensure that women have equal opportunities in leadership? And Heather, what barriers are still present and how can we address them?
I think there's a lot of initiatives like mentorship programs to empower women, having networks. But I think sometimes we don't address or don't speak about that there is still unconscious bias, and that we need not isolated programs. We need something coming all together to address this. And that's what I really love in our program, in Women in Nutraceuticals, because you have female mentees and male mentors. And the feedback we got from the mentors is, oh my God, now I'm aware about this because I was told about it in a different way, like one of my people in the team would tell me. So, and they get more sensitivity next time in the work environment. They will also hear differently or understand words differently. So I think we need to address the unconscious bias and not just say we don't want this anymore, so it's not there, because we're all human beings and we need time to change perception and mindset. So I think that's very important. The other thing which is also important is to get better access for female entrepreneurs and startups to funding, because venture capitalist fundings, also even European Horizon programs, you have a lot of men sitting in the decision teams. And I think this needs to be changed to see more innovations, more initiatives led by the female entrepreneurs. And that's also great that also WIN has set up now an entrepreneurship to support, and to support not only by money, but also by education and by networking.
Thank you. Heather?
Sybille, I think you stole my notes off of my computer, because the first thing I said on barriers, it's unconscious bias. we talk about this idea, like, I agree, we all want the best individual, of course. But when we think about it, what are the must issues when you're hiring someone into your team? What are the real requirements? Do you have to have an MBA? Do they have to have X or Y background? The more we can look at our job descriptions, the way that we're bringing people into companies and giving different people opportunities. Women are often, they want to tick all of the boxes. They want to tick 8 out of 10 boxes before they're going to apply for a job. And, the research has shown, men are 4 to 5. So thinking a little bit about how do we help in the hiring process to address unconscious bias. Sybille also brought up the pay gap, and, 84 cents for every dollar earned by men, that's a challenge. And it has a lot of root causes. You've got the occupational issues, you've got societal issues, a lack of control over your work hours, but that isn't an excuse anymore. We need to help women in their negotiation skills when they're being promoted. You can talk about money. It's okay. You should be thinking about your value. That's where, you can actually talk with your mentor, talk with your sponsor, talk with someone outside the company. Practice when you're taking on a new job for the money that you're asking for. I certainly see the nutraceutical industry at a transition point. You have a lot of founders and those who fought for Deshay in the US and, across Europe, and they're retiring, and we don't have succession planning. We're not looking at who are the young people, who are the people from different geographies, who have different ideas, and how can we get them in? So it's not just gender. It's so much more than that.
No, absolutely. And you're right in what you're saying in terms of the unconscious bias and the hiring strategy. And I think that, as a recruiter within the industry, we have a level of responsibility where, when we're approached by organizations and we're set to present a shortlist, that we are reaching out to both demographics. And it is my position to provide the best talent, but I'm also here to provide equal opportunities and make sure that I am taking people from different demographics, or, looking at giving somebody a promotion that necessarily wouldn't have felt that position was, necessarily theirs. So I think we also have a level of responsibility from my side as well. These are all, really important points to consider. So thank you both for sharing those. Let's shift a little bit into some quick fire questions. So what's been the best bit of career advice that you've both received? So Heather, do you want to go first?
It's to just say yes. Often we second guess ourselves, and you can be surprised by what you learn when you say yes to an opportunity. And often you'll figure it out along the way.
Fantastic. Sybille?
Yeah, it's actually the same. It's don't wait for the perfect moment. Take the opportunity and grow into it. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you. So how do you both navigate self-doubt and imposter syndrome in your career?
It's interesting when we were talking about our upcoming summit in April, and our keynote speaker is going to be addressing building brand and imposter syndrome. And I said, absolutely, I've got that. And people go, but you've been doing this for so long. How can you have that? And it's something that I have to look at myself in the mirror and give myself that talk, as well as reaching out to my friends. I've got some amazing connections across the industry. And as I've been in this career transition, I've been really fortunate to have people who have reached out and supported me, made introductions. I've embraced doing some coaching because we need to be learning constantly.
For me, it's like because I really had to Google it to understand exactly what it is, because you hear it, it's like a trend word, but what does it mean? And based on this, I have to say, I don't experience imposter syndrome very often. And I thought about, when do I do it? And it's usually when it's not adapting my own ability. It's more that I am sensing an environment where I cannot fully trust people around me. So in these moments, I shift my focus to understand the dynamics of the play. So what's going on, to anticipate maybe unfair techniques which are around that make me feel uncomfortable. And what I do is I always try to be prepared for everything. So even if you prepare for a meeting, for sure, you always think, what is the goal? What do I want to bring? But also what could happen? So what are the others? What is the political in the room? So I think that is my way to get resilience for imposter syndrome.
Oh, thank you. What's one thing that companies could do today to better support women in leadership positions?
to become a win sponsor, I would say. To become
Great
a sponsor, make sure that today's and future leaders, women and men, participate in win activities and become a naturally supporter to launch female leaders.
I love it. Absolutely. It's such an opportunity. WIN has the opportunity, and it's in our, objectives. How do we help companies understand what they can do? What tools can we offer them? There's some companies that are doing amazing things within the industry to support developing female leaders and developing very balanced teams, gender balance, race balance, all of this. That helps build that collaborative environment, and it addresses that concern around role congruity, where if you have a female leader and no females on your team, it's very othered, where we can help provide tools to companies to think about this, unconscious bias, all that they could do, but couldn't agree more. Be a WIN sponsor. Yeah. Reach out for more information.
Yeah. Email below.
That's right.
Thank you so much, Sybille and Heather, for sharing your insights and experiences. And I think it's clear to see that empowering women in leadership roles isn't just about breaking down barriers. It's about accelerating action and driving innovation and creating a more inclusive future for the entire industry. What we would like to now do as part of the Hartmann Young podcast series is ask a question for the next person. So this could be about accelerating action. It would be on brand, but it could also be any question that you think would be relevant. So I'll ask you both whether you have a question for the next person, please.
So with so much angst right now in the U.S. around DEI, how do you talk, more importantly, listen to others to help us find a path forward that values the uniqueness we bring it as individuals? I'd love to hear what people are doing to foster that environment where you talk and listen and those viewpoints can be explored.
Brilliant. Thank you. Sybille?
I would love that you ask your next guest about an experience where they advance in their career due to a female conscious or unconscious mentor. That we get more success stories, that we get the role models, and that would be great to hear this kind of stories.
Brilliant. Thank you. Well, thank you for listening to the Hartmann Young podcast episode for International Women's Day. Let's keep pushing the boundaries and leading the way for a gender equal future. Thank you.